Welcome to the Smash Masters podcast, hosted by Stefan Eschi and Nick Priest. This is where we dig into the auto body collision repair field and talk quality repair methods and how the industry is always changing. Buckle up, it gonna get bumpy.
Hey.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Smash Masters podcast, episode 53.
Afternoon, where are you?
I'm in the afternoon on a Monday in Mississippi. What do you mean?
This is evening to me, but okay.
Afternoon. It's afternoon. It's after 12. It's evening, afternoon, whatever.
So is the morning.
It's kind of, okay, yeah. Well,
and noon. It just keeps going around and around and around.
What's up, Alex? What's up, Josh?
Hey, Alex.
What's up, Nick? How's everybody doing today? How is everybody? What's everybody's Monday looking like, man?
Thank God it's Monday.
Yeah.
I did repair today on a Fiat Spider. I had 22 hours on a quarter panel. This thing was sitting in my shop for about 2 months waiting for parts because there are no parts available.
No parts?
What's up, James? No parts for a Fiat Spider, a 2012 Fiat Spider. Nothing. No taillights, no bumpers, nothing. So finally got a used one in and did the repairs today. I was using Keith Cosentino's Black Plague straps to rough it out. Made that in cold glue from I used the sticky gum on my AR-10 dents layer. And I had a 22-hour panel done in maybe 2 hours.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that kind of stuff has really sped up the big smash repair processes. It takes them down really fast.
So I'm trying to tell everybody, man. I mean, they just gotta there's a learning curve to it and everything. You gotta learn glue pulling and where it's really useful and stuff. But a lapse of thinking and glue pulled. Oh, that stinks. A better repair.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough.
Yeah.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm sure I'll be there someday. Bye.
Yeah. Well, I think Joe, he's pretty well set up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and bring Joe in here and see what Joe's got going on.
All right. Hey there.
Good afternoon.
Guys, how you doing?
Good evening before I get scolded again by old Stefan over here.
Well, for Joe, it's afternoon.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It's still daylight right now over here.
Right.
So you're okay, Nick.
Well, it just depends where you are then, I guess.
Josh finally made the jump and got a porta power. Awesome, man.
Good job, Josh.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get time to prep for anything because, like you, I was pushing for time. Also, I was out doing some work, and I barely made it in time as well. So,
all right. I don't feel so bad then.
No. I mean, it's summertime. Get ready for summertime. People are wanting stuff looking nice. So
that's right.
That's
right. You know, and I was thinking about that when I was because I was scrambling. My shop is literally 5 minutes down the road from my house, right?
Nice.
So I could have done this show over there, but you would have heard airplane noises overhead the whole time because there's a little airport right there, and so it would have been really obnoxious. So I came up here, but I was thinking, it's probably good because sometimes it's good to get, to know each other in the first, for like 10 minutes or something before. But I feel like it's more spontaneous and, it's just more authentic and natural when we do, right now is the time, man,
Right. Because, it's what, we all learn together and a little
Absolutely.
bit of so.
I always feel like there's some snippets of conversations that happen before the show starts that I'm like, man, I wish that was on the podcast.
Exactly.
It's hard to recreate that and everything. So no, this is good. I'm glad you came on. Have a nice conversation. But
yeah, I was listening to the Dent Time podcast not too long ago, and you were talking. This was before you had your shop.
Okay.
You were just doing mobile stuff, and you were kind of talking about that, and kind of getting that away, and then it jumped from that to I've been in my shop for 9 months. The next episode or something. So, like a lot of techs out here, we have to start somewhere. So for us, we're all learning. So how did you start in PDR? Did you do collision work or anything like that, or you just?
I did the opposite journey from you guys, the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I was in automotive. I particularly at the time was working at a detail shop where we would have a gentleman come in and do PDR. And this was a long time ago, probably before you guys were born. I don't know. 1995 and 96.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were alive.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in 86. So
Yeah,
Okay.
87. So.
But you guys look young, so that's good.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, so this guy, his name was Rick Dugan, and he was out of Oklahoma, and he had moved to Southern California, which is where I was born and raised. And at this point, the shop I was at, he had come over and he would do, just little dings, occasionally something big, which at the time was like that, that was a big dent back then. And I remember being really impressed by the process. I mean, because he made it look like nothing ever happened, like truly, because it was kind of a high-end detail shop. And so, picky was the way to go. Our customers were really picky. So seeing the results, like a lot of times he would drill a hole in the door jamb. That's just how you access things back then. And then he put a little plug in. But nonetheless, my customers thought it was, just the bee's knees,
Right.
So I met him, and then he was also offering training, and well, I jumped on that wave, so because I was 21 at the time, so I was getting ready to bounce because I was getting tired. It was a dead end job at that detail shop. I was working for somebody else, and I went to work with them, and for a couple of years I learned, and then I moved on. So. And I'm still learning to this day.
Right. Well, stuff from 5 years ago has changed dramatically from then to now. So really I think we're all really still in that phase of learning. Oh,
that's actually one of my favorite. Oh, look at that!
Hey, that's
Martin.
Is that Martin?
That's Martin. Yeah.
What's up, Martin?
Oh man, I'm humbled, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. You're a legend yourself.
He stayed up. He set his alarm just to come and say hi. So that's some dedication right there.
Across the pond. Yeah, UK, man. Thanks for joining us, Martin. Appreciate you, man.
Martin's the man.
Yeah, absolutely.
God, I had something. I forgot where I was going with it.
Was it regarding 5 years of progress in these last 5 years of innovation?
Who knows? But I guess what I would wonder is how far into your career were you doing more glue pulling? Was it something you started right away with? I know it's advanced a lot in the last decade or so.
Yes. I was an early adopter of glue pull.
I thought so.
I never chased hail, so I don't know what those guys were doing, but I think that's where glue pull came from. I don't know. Maybe you guys know the answer to that, but I discovered it in, I want to say it was 2002 or 2001, through Ding King, of all things.
Okay.
At the time, Ding King's come a long way, but at the time, we used to laugh at them. Because we were advanced, and for advanced, again, that was a dent like that big,
Right.
But anyway, they were selling what they call Popsident now, which they were brilliant in marketing it to, like, I think you can get them at like Target and Walmart now, but at the time, a friend of mine, my friend Alfonso, who also trained from at the same place I trained, so we're both line board guys, and he told me about this. And hey, dude, there's this glue system that this company Ding King is selling. And so we drove out to Fountain Valley down there, by the beach, and the guy gave us a discount because we were going to each buy one. and I paid $250 for the kit, which is now like $30 at
Right.
Walmart or something. But anyway, long story short, I used this system, and I was impressed because I mean it was nothing like what we're using now, not even close. But I fixed a few dents on roof rails, like small dings on roof rails with that thing, and I was able to make money with it. And so that was early on, and then from there, a couple years later, I found at A1 Tools, I think. They sold what I believe they called the Worth kit, and it was these real flexible, like purple, translucent tabs, and they pulled well, like wide footprint. I still use them once in a while when I need like a wide and just gentle pull, like on a rail, and it's too soft to put like a Reaper tab, you know. So then I moved into that, and I picked up a slide hammer. This was probably 07, somewhere in there. Slide hammer and a little mini lifter. And then after that, it evolved into Kiko. Kiko came into play by the like mid to late 2000s. And they had these little golf ball like tabs. They were blue, and there were these little dents, like little dimples in there. It looked like a golf ball.
Yeah, right.
I had really good luck with those. And I also used a company called Atlas tabs. They were black. And those pulled strong too.
Yep. I have some of those actually still. I use them from time to time.
I do too.
On really big stuff.
Yep. That's actually the Worth tabs or something I keep letting all the body techs I know about them, because you can get a nice assortment for like $50-$60. These things are stout. They don't break. They do their perform. So Atlas tabs for all the body techs looking to get into glue pulling.
Heck yeah. Try them all out, you know, and because you're going to find something that just clicks, you know.
Absolutely.
Get a Grip Now on Instagram says still uses Atlas, and Body Women says what's up. So what's up over there? How you guys doing?
What's up?
Thanks for coming in. A1 still sells a ton of Atlas tabs. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I got mine from Anson. It's they're useful. They're useful tabs for sure. Especially the bigger oval with the convex. You know, I place that in some real strong, deep spots. Put a ratchet strap or something on that, and then work. You know, just adding tension to the panel. I really like those tabs. But no, that's cool. I mean, I just heard from a bunch of PDR techs that, you know, they didn't like using glue. I hear from PDR techs now that still don't glue pull.
You'd be surprised. Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that you were an early adopter, so we can kind of thank you for supporting it for the rest of us and help get it to where it is now.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. You know, Kiko, I think I kept them in business for early on.
Nice.
They don't need me anymore.
Nice. Kiko's great. We love Kiko stuff.
I use their stuff daily. Yeah,
a lot of guys still use the Atlas tabs quite a bit, I think. So from a couple of these comments, and Vince he sells Atlas daily, so they're still in heavy use out there for sure.
Yeah.
Vince was with us. And he says Anson sells Atlas daily.
Sells them daily. Yep. Absolutely. Jared wants to know if you're going to be doing any more Dent Evo videos, or have you been busy lately?
You know what? I'm glad you asked, Jared. I actually need to. It's something. It's kind of a love-hate relationship that I have with them. It's a lot of work, you know. It's just a lot of time involved, and I'll tell you, I video every day, and like everything, even the stuff that doesn't come out, you know, nice, you know, and my flubs and stuff. I should just post that stuff. I'll probably get like a whole bunch of followers.
Well, I do see that, you know, you and Mike, when you guys do get on the podcast and talk, man, that's mostly where you guys center towards a lot of these struggles, and maybe not these perfect dents, but all these everyday in between things. And that's that's the stuff I like to listen to personally. So
it's real.
It's real. It's real stuff, because, you know, we all have done really great stuff. And I mean, I'm speaking for me when I say this. I've done some stuff, especially learning that, probably we don't want to mention. But
you don't want to like show that some stuff off.
yeah, I mean,
But
it takes that to get to an advancement level, and you keep progressing, and
Yeah.
you get better. And some of this stuff doesn't really require it to be 100% perfect every time. At least, around my area it doesn't. So
Here too. It's a case by case basis. In fact, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine who also does PDR out here or earlier today, and we were saying the same thing. He's like, because he was telling me, dude, like he was kind of feeling like because he was telling me the same thing you're saying. Like he had a dent that he was not fully satisfied with. The customer was happy, but it wasn't. He said it wasn't up to Evo standards. And I was like, forget about that, dude. I'm showing you my highlight reel. I'm showing you my wins, my home runs.
right.
And showing, my flubs. And that's where I got to give respect to Mike Toledo, is because he will show those, and he gets crucified for it. But you know what? It's the truth. And you know what? Maybe I'll start showing that stuff because it is the truth. And honestly, it's a real case by case basis. Like you said, Nick, in your area, sometimes things don't always have to be perfect. Well, guess what?
Right.
Same thing here, because
and here
you get a customer who, look, I had a Tesla Model S last week, all aluminum body, right? Quarter panel hit right by the hatch, right under the taillight. Long story short, dude, this guy, he came in last month. I gave him a quote of $2,000, right? $2,000 and change. And I wasn't even sure I could fix it, but I was willing to give it a shot. He thought it was too much. He went everywhere. He went, because I have buddies who own body shops, right down the street, and we work together, and I know where he's been. He comes back and he asked me if I could do it for less, for what we ended up on at $1,500. Okay, so already there, it's a significant improvement repair. End of the story was I couldn't get it perfect, because if you've ever been in that spot, well, for one thing, I'm going to just say it. I pulled the taillight and there's no access. I pulled the interior trim. There's no access to that spot. I drilled a hole. I ended up drilling a hole inside the area after I took the taillight out, right?
Yeah.
And then that allowed me a good access to most of the dent, but the dent was right by the edge and there was a flange there. So guess what? That thing, like, it wasn't all going to come out, but I was able to slide a thin stand liner in there and kind of get it out as much as possible, along with glue pull, with my rack. I don't know if you guys see my little rack in there. It's that's what I pull.
I haven't, but I heard you guys mention it on the on one of your shows that it kind of goes around the wall and stuff, and you just got those hooks that you can move all up and down.
Yeah, exactly. I just put, like, it's real simple. It's just some strut channel with some they're called trolleys. They're kind of like this mount that rolls. It has ball bearing or bearings and skateboard bearings.
Yep.
And it just rolls inside there, so I can adjust the post side to side. And it's mainly for like just tension pulls, not real power, pulls. But in this case, I was using it for power pulls. And anyway, after all that said and done, I could only get that to a significant improvement. It was not perfect. The guy was happy though.
Right.
He was super happy, and his thing was that, like, it was going to require replacement of the quarter panel. It was aluminum, they wouldn't have repaired it. So, to my knowledge, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, like, it really is a case by case basis.
100%.
Everything
100%.
There's no such thing as perfection. We are human at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've done things that are very minor stuff. I can see that people are like, I can't. They can look all over and can't find anything wrong with it. Look straight down, like the protractor method, from all angles, and can't find anything. But I can still see the little something just real small, and they're good. They're happy with it, and it is what it is on a lot of things.
Yeah,
it's an agreement between you and the customer. If the customer's happy, And two, if your repair is safe, you know, you haven't caused yourself any liability issues, then you're good. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the agreement. It's between you and the customer. So it's funny because I'll be in someone's driveway and I'll be fixing something and I'll think I'm like halfway through. And the customer comes up behind me and they go, "Oh wow, it's gone already." It's like, yes, it is. I'm just gonna finish up a little bit and we'll be all set. So I do like the big things, and I'm like, if they don't see it, then this is done. You know, I'm not gonna spend another hour if I don't have to.
Right.
But I mean, we should always strive to do good quality repairs, obviously.
At the end of the day, it was a repair. It's not original anymore. That's true, but I think PDR is the best form of a repair that you can possibly get when it's a good candidate for it. You know, obviously there's cars out there that
closest to factory for sure.
Yeah, you know.
Sure.
Yeah,
I like to tell people body shop quality or better.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like it.
Because people think they get something back from the body shop, it's perfect, you know, and it's not, you know. So that's what I like to say. I can get it to body shop quality or better.
A little
Not
wet
lying
sanding
at all.
Yeah, wet sanding can go a long way. So Alex brings up something about lines. You know, you and Mike are pretty heavy into line uses. Did you start out using lines, or is that just is that purely how you were taught on that?
Yeah, man, I was brought up wrong. And thank you, Alex, for that comment, man. It's very flattering. I appreciate it. I'll tell Mike that too. So, I learned using lines. That's what the guy that I trained with. That's what he used. And so I've tried going to fog, and I can fix a dent with fog, but it is I'm not as quick. And I think it's almost like I liken it to trying to learn a language, you know. And I know I could if I invested enough time and effort into it.
Right.
Probably be quicker, maybe, because I feel like those of you guys who use fog kind of have a topographical view of the dent. It might give a little bit of an advantage, but there are other areas where the lines do give, I feel like, an advantage, especially the lights that I'm using and Mike is using. We have adapted key lights, like video lights, the lights that you see in the reflection of my glasses right now, actually super bright LED, and it just gives a nice uniform light across the board, and it has reflective behind it, so you're not getting any dead spots between the LED strips. You know, I loved my Illuminate lights. I've bought like probably a dozen of them over the years. You can run them over; they're tough as nails. But I would have strips added in the center, like in the dead spots, and it still would just I couldn't see as much as what I can see with these key lights now, and it's made my work faster now, more accurate and more faster.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting. And it did. So those key lights there, I mean, there's just like a square white light.
Yep.
And then did you put the stripes on yourself?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just vinyl stripes. You know, it's pretty basic. And I made different ones because I mean they're just key lights, so they're not like like you have to unscrew everything and take it apart to change the lens. So what I did was I got 3 of these lights, and I put one with 1/8 lines, one with 1/4 lines, and then one with 1/2 lines. I don't really use that as much. The lights I first learned with were actually a shop light. It's a 4-foot long. It was made by a company called Lights of America, right? And this is something you would buy at Home Depot, and you would put your own lens on it with plexiglass from the plexiglass store. they had those, and you would get 1/2-inch stripes on there. And in fact, Vince will remember this actually, if he's still in here. Vince D'Alessandro, he was doing an electric vehicle safety training class at Mike's down in San Diego years ago, and I had this light from my early days that I knew Mike learned from the same guy, by the way. so that's how we have the same lineage, and no pun intended. And so I brought him one of these lights, and I gave it him, and I brought it in the shop there when we were doing this event, and we were there for training, and he goes, "What the heck?" He goes, "Dude, I'll how much do you want for it? I'll buy it off you." Said, "No, you're not. I'm not going to sell it to you." I said, "I'm giving it to you." And he like just started getting all emotional because he used to carry one of those in his Carmen Gia. He said, if you've ever listened to his early podcasts, he tells the story, which is pretty cool. And he used to drive a little Carmen Gia to his dealership work doing PDR, and he would carry one of these lights. Were like man, they had to be like 50 pounds or more. All steel, heavy duty square tubing, and then that big fluorescent light on it.
And a little Carmen Gia.
Yeah, in a little Carmen Gia.
I like that.
Yeah,
Cool.
I've heard him mention his Carmen Gia mobile stories a few times. They're pretty good. I would have to re-go and watch the episodes to kind of like really touch up on some of the details, but it was some good stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So was this, I mean, not to get off topic, but was it a car that he just had, so he just used it, or did he specifically get a Carmen Gia to go and do dent work?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to ask him.
I'll have to ask him.
But back then, I mean, this was in dinosaurs still roamed the earth, man. So Carmen Gias and Volkswagens were all over the place still. In fact, I've got one in my backyard. Not a Gia, but a squareback, a 64 squareback. That I had at the time too. So that was another thing that Mike and I had in common, because I would use mine also to go and occasionally fix dents. It was a wagon though.
Cool. Yeah, I always thought maybe having a unique dent fixing vehicle would be good for marketing. But call the guy with that K truck, you get one of those little K trucks and show up to all the jobs in one of those. I thought that'd be funny.
Heck yeah, man. Something that's catchy, especially mobile, man.
Right.
I miss my mobile days, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about some of those early days in mobile, because that's what I do. I'm mobile. I got a I think it's a 6 by 10 foot trailer, and I just pull that little dude everywhere with me.
Nice.
And I don't know. I got a little truck. I put a camper top on it, but the trailers just does so well for me. I don't even really need it, honestly.
Yeah.
But let's go through some of your mobile days and early stuff, like kind of how you maybe how you got started doing that, or if there was something that kind of shifted your
Did you start out wholesale or did you go right into retail?
So I started working with the company where they originally trained me, and they were mainly wholesale. Retail was just kind of like a side hustle, and it was all based on referrals from the dealerships, because as you guys probably know, if you work with dealerships, they it's a great source of retail leads. And that's what we did back then. And we did body shops. My very first mobile job was a body shop, and it was at a Chevy dealer. And that was when I worked for the other company. And oh my gosh, it was so nerve-wracking, man, because I felt like it had to be perfect. And it was kind of a thing where the main guy that worked with us that did the, that account, he wasn't available. So guess what? I had to step up and I had to figure it out. And
right.
I remember that. I remember it had to have been a 97 Silverado, red in color.
Yeah.
And it was on the hood. And I don't know to this day if they had painted the hood or if it was you know what it probably was? It was a brand new car that they were selling at the Chevy dealer, and they sent it to the body shop, and the body shop was tasked to get their dent guy to come fix it. Simple as that. Okay. Well, I was the dent guy. And I honestly had only been doing it for like a month or two, like training, but I took it so goddamn seriously, man. And I had practiced all over my truck. I had a 22R Toyota, 87 Toyota at the time. And I touched every square inch of that truck, man, trying to master it, and beating my head against the wall. I took it so serious, probably so seriously that if I had gotten into a real job, I'd probably be retired by now, But this is, I took it real serious, and I did the dent, but I can say that I didn't finish it because I had a hard time. We used to use a lot of electrical tape on the tips, soften the pushes, and the tools were kind of archaic. Rick would make the tools in his garage, and he had a lot. He was a man of many talents, and I should tell you guys the story behind his story one of these days. It's actually a really cool story. But anyway, he had made all these tools, but they were, compared to like what we have now, they were archaic.
Okay.
But we would put tape on the tips, and having all that tape on there was, and I didn't know it at the time, but you really had to go bare metal at some point, and I wasn't there yet. So really, the dent was not finished, but it was just enough that they were happy with it, and we got paid. So
it's wholesale. It's funny you described my first mobile dent to the T. I mean, it was even a Chevy dealer.
Really?
So it was just a Chevy right down the street.
Right on.
I thought it was. I thought I had to make it perfect, So I was sweating.
Yes.
And I had this crease at the end. I mean, the dent was like this on a gate, and at the end, it was just this little subtle line.
Okay.
And then the guy comes over. Oh, how's it going? Oh, it looks great. Oh, it's like, I'm not done, but if you think I am, I guess I am. It totally blew my mind that they were like okay with that. I'm like, this is a dealership. That's a Mercedes. You're okay with this? And it blew my mind. But I learned right there and then what they were expecting, and so I was able to gauge that from that point on. But
right on.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we have a lot in common. We don't know it until we share these things,
Right.
You must have been sweating it though.
Absolutely. And the owner of the dealership's coming out and goes, what is going on? Who are you?
Oh my goodness, yes. Right. Who's this young guy? You get the young man blues, back then, everyone's like doubting you, and everyone's trying to like grind you down and tell you you're not. At the time for me, it was Saturns, these cars called Saturns, right? They were going to put metal out of business because everything was supposed to go plastic. They were plastic cars. And so everyone was telling me like, oh, what are you doing, man? This isn't going to go anywhere. Well, here I am.
The Saturns didn't last long.
Yeah, exactly. Don't listen to anybody.
Right.
No, that's
right.
for sure.
At the end of the day, you got to keep grinding and keep doing what you do, because even if there was a car line that came out with that again and was really successful, there's still a ton of cars out there that need to be repaired. Just like aluminum, that's really hard to deal with, but we've worked through that and we've figured out ways to overcome and build that to a really high level. And I think whatever else comes out there, we could probably do the same. I don't know how the cyber trucks and stuff are supposed to pan along. I haven't fooled with any of that, so I have no clue.
I saw somebody push something out of one of those panels.
Really?
I saw a video on one of the PDR groups. Somebody pushed a nice, large, soft dent out of one of the door panels.
Really?
But I got trained for collision on the Cybertruck. It's a very interesting vehicle. I didn't think PDR would be possible, to be honest.
It seems like it's pretty heavy gauge.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But what do I know? I mean, for all I know, they took it off and hit it out with a hammer. And me. So I actually was working on I'm actually still full-time in a body shop 4 days a week, and the body shop does heavy duty equipment and sometimes or heavy duty collision. So semis, dump trucks, school buses. And they had a FedEx truck, and they wanted me to straighten some metal on that. And this aluminum is like a 1/4 inch thick.
Wow.
I'm on there with my Kiko K-bar, like almost sending myself across the shop. You know how much tension I'm putting on it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's amazing that it will work. And so I figure that Cybertruck has got to be somewhat similar to that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, how did that aluminum come out at the end? I mean, on that FedEx truck.
Ready for filler.
Okay.
So
Right.
I mean, it was deep, and then it was ready for filler. So it moved.
That's something, right?
It didn't come out all the way.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but and maybe you have. There was years ago. There was a method that they used to fix fuselages on jets, on airline jets. And it used electromagnetism. And the same process was used also on a smaller scale on brass instruments like trumpets and stuff that get dented. And they'll put a ball inside the instrument, and they have these different size balls, basically, and they put them in there, and depending on the diameter of the pipe that they're going in, and then they use electromagnetism, and it heats it, and it rubs it, because they're not going to burn any paint on it, but right. they move it around. So maybe that's something for the Cybertrucks. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's I would, if I was to guess, I would think that they had something similar to that would be out soon. I seen a guy on I don't know, it was a page. He had a really big one of those. It looked almost homemade, but the whole door was caved in, and he just kind of stuck it up there a few times, and this thing was like huge. So he's sticking it up there 2 or 3 times, and it sucks the whole door back into place. I don't know. I guess that's where they get sucking the dent out.
Yeah,
those guys.
Yeah,
somebody watched that guy. Somebody watched the guy do that, and then that's where that whole thing comes from. I'm convinced of that already.
Yeah, I had one of those today. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I've heard that terminology so many times, man. If I had $1 for every time, I'd freaking be retired.
I've heard it a few times. I went down to a guy's shop, and he sold bass boats. And I went around back, and there was this guy back there. There was a little Mazda. It was a red one. And I pulled my truck and trailer up there, and I opened the door, and he's like, I hear the guy's going to suck that dent out. And I was like, hold on now. Hold on. We're not doing any of that here today.
I would never say something like that to somebody. Like, what? Yeah. Like the audacity,
Well, these are country guys out here, so they always have like a slang country thing just to kind of introduce somebody. So he was kidding, but he wasn't really sure if that was really what I was about to do or not. So he was kind of testing the waters.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, because let's face it, we have a lot of educating to do to the consumers.
Absolutely.
Even still, as far as we've come. Even in the last, like you said, the last 5 years, we've progressed so much, and it continues to, which is awesome. But we have to remember that the consumers don't know that. We pop dents out as far as they go, and in some cases, people will say those kind of things. I find to try and diminish, even if they're not mean-spirited about it, but because if they can diminish what we're doing, it might mean they don't pay as much. But.
Right.
I think for the most part, we have to be patient. Like you said, this guy, he was just breaking the ice really. And we have to be patient with it and then use it as our cue to educate them.
I think that education part starts in your local areas, because as much as we can do social media, and I know Mike has a huge following and they bring people from all over, but even still with that, once you get out of his area, there's only a few people or your area for that matter, there's only a few people that really know what that is, unless they've been introduced to paintless dent repair before. So with me doing mobile work around my area, that's one of my main struggles, is getting people to understand what it is and how it works. And I've gotten to where when I have people on the phone and they say, well, walk me through the process, I'll kind of explain the entire thing to them, like what I feel like I'm going to use, how it's going to work, what are we going to do, depending on the dent, obviously. And usually by the time I get through explaining it to these guys, they feel a lot more comfortable, and they're like, Well, absolutely. He knows exactly what he's doing. But you have to tell a story each time you go to go to somebody's wherever they're at and present it to them. You have to tell them a story.
Not only that, with how you're going to fix the dent, but I like to fully explain how these dents are priced. I'll show them the app. I'll show them exactly what I'm putting in there. I'll show them how I measure the dent, show them the different factors. And listen, this is not just me coming out here saying, oh yeah, it looks like $1,000. You know, no, I've got something, it's a formula that spits it out. And so, yeah, educating is super important.
And being transparent. And I've had a few that when I go to their house and go to evaluate the den or whatever it is, I tell them up front, you know, I don't know that I can work this entire thing out. But I will see what we can do, and I'll give you the best of what I got, and you know, hopefully we come up with something. And I haven't had a bad situation like that yet. And most of the time, it's just mostly me thinking that I probably can't do better than what I've done, you know, because I'm always critiquing myself, and I can always do a lot better than what I feel like I'm doing. So as long as I explain that process, walk through all that stuff, it seems like I've been doing better. I don't know how, if you had a certain routine or something when you were starting out, or like, you know, you getting everybody in your area accustomed to what you do or not, but you may have some stories on that.
I do. And I'll start by saying it's something I'm still working out, even to this day, even today. People I dealt with today, because sometimes you're off your game a little bit too, you know, like I have a whole routine kind of thing. I don't want to make it sound like it's a performance, but it kind of is. I mean, isn't everything when we're dealing with people like out in the world and we're, you know, we're kind of, so there's certain things that I do that are just like their habit, and it makes for a really smooth interaction. And it gives the person you're talking to confidence, like what you had mentioned, Nick, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, I've had a lot of growing pains over the years, like even way back when I started using the price guide, Paul Corden price guide, that we all, you know now, and you know, by price by the inch, and then add the factors. And I started using that like in 2014 when I first came across Paul, when I met him at MTE, and you know, he showed a bunch of us how to use it, and I thought it was revolutionary, and I still do think it is.
I really think it is.
Yeah, for sure. And it goes into like, it's made my work better, you know, since I've been using it. It's obviously per job I make more also, which is also very nice. But the growing pain was trying to get people to buy it, because like you guys both said, it's like when I would just present a number, it was like, whoa, what? No, smack, you know, sticker shock, instant.
Yeah, we can't do that, you know.
Yeah.
That's where I started kind of coming up with a story, because it's almost like you have to form a bit of a relationship with these people before you kind of just throw out a random number, whatever it is. And letting them know, you know, it is okay. You can claim this stuff if you need to, but that's a whole different topic. But either way, once we go, or for me, once I go through that, they feel a lot better about, hey, let's get this up, versus if I just roll up to somebody's house and I don't form any type of relationship with the people, and I just punch a few numbers in there and I say it'll be this amount, and they look at me and they go, okay, well, I don't know, you know. So for people out there that are just starting, form these relationships with small talk and stories, and get them kind of worked up. Show them who you are, and then you'll be a lot more successful at getting these bigger numbers, for sure.
Definitely. soft skills, right? You know,
Right.
'cause we get so hell bent, for lack of a better term, on what we're doing and focused on the process, the repair and stuff, which is important. You know,
It is.
we're the one doing the job and we got to deliver. But sometimes we forget, hey, this is a human being I'm doing this for. You know,
Right.
it's not for me, it's for this person, and they're the ones ultimately determining the value and whether or not they want to work with you or not. And sometimes that makes all the difference. If they, trust is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. And I've come to realize that once you start repairing things for people, and this guy knows or had heard somebody that you had worked on their car, that also makes them feel instantly more comfortable. So once you start forming that small talk and present them with what you're doing, then that I feel like you can get the bigger numbers a lot easier, and it's not really like you're beating them. It's just you're getting your absolute worth or close to it as possible for everything that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Make it win-win, so a win for you and a win for the client, and you can't go wrong with that. There's a really good book that I've mentioned many times in Mike's podcast. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's like a New York Times bestseller since way back when. And the author, Dr. Stephen Covey, he talks about think win-win. Well, a whole chapter is dedicated to think win-win. That's one of the 7 habits. And he says, and it was like through me reading that chapter over and over again, and him saying, like, if it's win-lose or lose-win, you don't have to take that deal. There was a time before that where I felt like I had to work with everybody who called me and everyone who brought a dent to me. And even when somebody was trying to get the best of me, they were trying to win at my expense. Mm-hmm. So that would be lose-win. And oftentimes I would take the deal, you guys. I would like, I had this like martyr syndrome, like self-sacrifice, and like, well, I'm an artist, and I have to suffer, for my art. Right. And no, you don't have to. If it's win-win, then that's all that matters. Your customer is winning and you are winning, and it's a beautiful thing. And that dent does not have to be perfect.
Right. And you touch on that for just a second, that taking the deal, even when you're probably going to lose out, whether it's a dollar amount or if it's time or whatever. I'm just now breaking out of some of those habits that I had to form for myself, because I also thought I had to take every single thing and try and do this and that, even when, I can look at it and pretty much say, this is not going to be good for me at all, but I'm still going to try it and see.
Yeah.
So
I have the opposite problem. I send everybody to the body shop. A lot of times I send Nick pic photos before I turn them down, just so Nick can be like, what? You could do that. So I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And then I come out with a price.
I got your number now, Stefan.
Yeah, sometimes I'm just like, oh boy.
Yeah,
do I really want to get into this?
It's a smart thing to do. That is a fine line, though, that no one who's never done PDR or tried it or had the challenge of it will ever understand just like what a fine line that is to, like, okay, yes, you want to challenge yourself because you don't grow if you don't challenge yourself, right? Mm-hmm. But to what degree? To where you're dying? Like, I mean, there's been times where I thought, man, if I keep doing this shit, I mean, I'm gonna be dead. They're gonna find me dead with a PDR tool in my hand,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did that. I've had people like, man, you want me to bring you a fan? You want me to bring you some sweet tea out here? You need anything? And I'm just sitting here like, bro, I shouldn't. I like hating it the whole time because I took it on. I knew I shouldn't have, and now I'm here doing it. So you have to suffer through it. But I'm gonna tell you what, you guys get a hold of 1 or 2 of those situations, you will learn really quick. Nah, like, I'm good. Like, I don't have to be out here saving the world.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. You'll, I think as individuals, we find our lane, you know. We do have to go to the edge. Sometimes we fall over it,
Mhm.
but it's knowing that edge where it keeps us in our sweet spot, you know. And
Right.
honestly, my best jobs are somewhere in between smashes and door dings, because it's just like a sweet spot of like between $600 and $1,200, and I can do them in a couple hours, and I want to fill my day with those. I haven't gotten there yet, to be honest. I've been after all this time, but like Jared had mentioned earlier in the show, you know, when are you going to do another video? Well, I need to start doing more videos so I can attract my ideal client, you know, and we all have that. That's our journey, you know, and we learn as we go. And it's a beautiful thing, because we are serving people with what I will always believe, like you mentioned, Nick, earlier in the show, like even PDR is always going to be the best option if it's done right, if it's done good. You know, even 90% repair or better, you know, it's going to be better. Like you said, Stefan, about like better than, as good as or better than the body shop, which I think is a great
shop or better. Yep.
Yeah, body shop or better. That's it.
What Josh has said right here, to go get a few estimates. Usually when I write a high estimate, especially if it's on a brand new aluminum panel or something like that with a crazy color, I will encourage them, by all means, go get a collision estimate, because I'm really in my area. I'm the only one that is close to this. I mean, there's people that come in out of state and do it, but I'm the only one that's here. So I kind of have this market, you know, all to myself. So I can say, hey, go to a couple of these body shops and see what you're looking at. Let them explain it to you. And if I know I can fix this, but if you need some extra guidance on something, let them see what you're going to be looking at. You know, what's the other option for you?
So you know what worries me about that, at least in my area, is if I send them to the body shop. I mean, every body shop I've worked in this area, if somebody comes in and they want an estimate and they're thinking about customer pay, they write the smallest, worst estimate possible to get that car in the shop and apart. Then they go and they hit them with whatever supplement, and that's how they basically trap the customer, you know. And then the customer switches over to insurance at that point, because oh my god, I didn't know it was going to be that much, you know. And car's already apart, it's already at the shop, so that's why I won't do that. But if I had like a specific shop that I know has good writers up front, that they're smart enough to write complete, then I would send them to there.
Well, that's essentially what I have here, and that's why I do that.
That's good. That's good.
So I'm not sending them to somebody who's just gonna write, you know, $480 on a $5,000 estimate that you can clearly see is right there. You just don't want to take the time to do it. And I've also sent them a few people, actually. I give them a quote, and then I've sent them to the shop, and then they refer right back to me, saying that that's the best possible route without even writing an estimate. So I've had that happen a couple of times.
I usually just tell them I was in a body shop for 2 decades before I did this, so listen to me.
That is a weapon. That's a secret weapon, you guys. I was going to mention that because I listened to the last 2 podcasts of Gregory and Brandon.
Oh, cool.
And I actually enjoy listening to your side of the story, you guys, because like I said, I come from a different background, and I do work with body shops, and I was working in body shops as a PDR tech, as a hired gun, basically, early on in my career, as I mentioned. But I never quite knew exactly what was involved. I didn't even necessarily understand, like a lot of the shops I was in, they were doing Bondo. They weren't really replacing stuff early on. And now, you look at the difference between a full-blown collision center with the Caroliner, setups and all the bells and whistles versus a rinky-dink, ragtag body shop, where they're still just bondo jobs. And you guys have a good, or anyone in your background who's, especially from to my knowledge, it sounds like your background was like top level collision repair. And to me, that gives you a huge advantage in PDR because you understand the value of PDR in relation, because you know what it could cost at its highest level. And that's going to be like you said, Stefan, listen to me, because I have 20 years of background in the collision center. I mean, that's something I don't have that, I'm a dent guy,
Right.
I got videos and that's it, but
I've mentioned that to it before on the show, talking about guys that have had to learn this without the collision background. And to me, that would be quite, scary.
I can't imagine.
Me either, because I've taken a ton of cars apart, and I've done it multiple times on the same cars. Like, I know a ton of cars from front to back, inside and out, everything. Now, if I took all that knowledge away and just said, I'm going to go and use these rods and this stuff, and I got this brand new car that I have no clue how to take apart, I have no experience in this at all, that is an overwhelming situation.
Absolutely.
I think the drill would be your best friend.
Exactly. I'm telling you, man. And I used to have a holster on each side, man, with a angle drill and a drill.
A straight drill.
One of the old body shop jokes was when the guys had a step bit, and then pull it out, I'd be like, I didn't know he's a PDR guy. Back in the day.
I believe that.
Yeah, I'm not a PDR guy. I'm like, well, you got that bit in your hand. You look like a PDR guy. That was the old kind of a running joke. But
yeah, well, I told you, I admitted to you earlier in the show, I drilled the hole last week.
I can't remember if it was Craig from Anson or somebody, but he said, all this selling all these hole plugs and kits and stuff.
All the people who claim to never drill holes. Yeah. He's like, I've told all of you a lot of plugs.
Do you guys drill at all?
No, I don't.
No. What?
If I
haven't.
No, I haven't either. Well, there's one job I did on a wholesale lot. It was an old used car, and I went up through the fender well. I went up through the fender well, and I took a I can't even think the tool that cuts the grade off the inside, so it doesn't clutter up and rust on it. I can't even think of the tool now, but it's used in machine work. Deburr, one of those Deburr tools. Yeah, you just spin it on the inside. I used one of those, and I put some black etch primer around it, and then I covered it up with a hole plug. But again, if I wasn't in a collision shop, I wouldn't have had that kind of stuff or know how to maybe take care of that as best as it can take care of.
Right.
I've seen some of these guys that just drill right in the side of a quarter panel, like a big, nice, juicy hole, and it's just all rusted, and it just looks nasty. And I'm like, guys, man,
it like when you open the door,
yeah.
And I mean, that's the uniside, isn't it? That's the structural, and that's a no-no. What do you think about drilling in the wheel well? Do you think that's structural too?
Yeah. So I mean, personally, I think placement is really important, and I will admit, even though I have my internet's not active.
Yeah, it's
you guys hear me?
I can hear you now.
I can hear you now.
I don't know what's going on with my internet, and good thing the show's almost over. But I do carry a drill now with me because I like to make money.
Yeah.
But I've got the knowledge of where to put them, in so that I'm not messing with any crumple zones, and I'm not messing with any structure. But that's very limited. We're very limited now.
Yeah.
the game has changed tremendously. The cars are different than they were 10, 20 years ago, you know.
They are. And I, to be honest, I've worked on some cars that have already been drilled into, and the dent was in probably the same spot the last guy was fooling with it. So I just take that plug out and I'm right back in there where he was. I call it, well, we're going to revisit this spot right here, but you kind of cleaned it up. But, you know, it would have made it way harder to repair had that not been there. And it was already there. There's nothing we can do with it anyway. So,
well, I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a controversial thing because it's, you know, is it structural? Is it compromising the integrity of the vehicle? You know, who's to say? You know, I mean, there's some parts of the car that yes, it absolutely is. You know,
yeah.
But then there's other spots, like you said, Stefan. You know, if there's no crumple zone there, I mean, there's another hole already there. It's just a smaller diameter because it's where the nuts or whatever, you know.
Right. So if I just make it a little bigger and use a bigger clip, you know, I'm not too against that, you know. So
I don't know, man. You know?
Right. I'm more okay with drilling in like a taillight pocket hole or a wheel well than I am like in a door, because a door it will affect airbag timing and stuff. So you really kind of want to stay away from drilling indoors. But if you're around that area, you know, just and I'm just speaking in general, just if we can do a good job at closing it up when we're done at that spot. And I don't think it will
use paint.
No, I see guys use silicone and like some liquid nails or wherever they found that at Lowe's, and you know it's kind of just goozing out, and you're like, geez, man, just.
I've used all the above. I've done it all, man.
I know the dent way was to use silicone. It's just really, it doesn't really work. It falls off and then all right.
And like Andrew said here, I go back to his question. He says OEM provides structural identification info for any PDR tech in question. So if
that's great advice.
You have something that that you're curious about, just go and find the OEM sheets and see if it's repairable. Then a lot of times it would be okay to put something there.
Yeah.
I was waiting for David White to come in and try and tell me I was lying about never drilling holes. Technically, he drilled it for me. So I didn't do it. We're going to leave that one right there at the end of the show. Unless people hear it.
The primer the glass guys use is a good alternative if you have some around.
Actually, it is. That is a really good stuff.
That's really good to keep in mind. That's some good stuff.
For sure. Well, Joe, I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, we're getting to 9 o'clock. I'm getting tired.
That was a fast hour, you guys. Thank you for having me on. I'm honored.
It was super quick. And I'm sure we could probably go on for another 2 or 3 hours talking and stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
I know.
Plenty to talk about. Yeah. Plenty to talk about. We'll have to have you on a future date. Then.
Anytime, man. Let me know. I'd love to talk dents with you guys.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming on again. And I don't have anything else. If you guys don't have anything else.
I do. I just wanted to say, well, first of all, like I said, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm very honored. And congrats to you guys too for this journey. You know, I think it's awesome. I think it's a sign of the times too, because I think it's guys like you who are going to take PDR to a level where it's going to be a preferred option. For everybody across the board, and because of your background in collision, in high level collision, it's more credible, you know, than you know guys like myself who go way back in the like gypsy times, you know. But we're gonna get there. You know?
I'll be honest with you. I would have not started this business had I not gotten fired in the body shop for doing PDR work.
All right. I like it.
I will tell you that
You got an
story
edge.
if you hadn't heard that another time. I will tell it to you. I've said it on here a few times, me and Stefan both, but I was forced to start what I do now, and I just passed my first year doing this. I'm on to the second, and things are as good as they've ever been for me. So
Congratulations.
you are very correct in it being a preferred method in repair. Absolutely.
I saw that red caddy you did, that quarter panel, man. Yeah, great job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. Josh, we're getting close. I don't have a date, but we're getting close. My phone hasn't stopped ringing lately, so I get enough calls. We'll see what happens.
Car Repair on Instagram, Car Repair USA says, big respect for Joe. That's Eldar. And get a grip now. It's a great show, boys. We appreciate you guys over on Instagram.
We are not on TikTok this week because whatever's going on with my internet was shutting TikTok down every 3 seconds, and it was playing a sound in my headphones, so I had to shut it off. But I'm sure people over on TikTok would say hi as well if we were there, but we're not. So anyway,
good.
Thanks for coming in, everybody. Joe, thanks for coming in again.
Thank you.
Look forward to talking to you again.
Have a good week, everybody. See you guys.
Bye, everybody.